Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Economic Empowerment Podcast. And this is another poster presentation that I saw today that discusses the energy and climate policy in a DSGE model of the United Kingdom, which this is by Sandra Batten and Stephen Millard, who is from Bank of England and National Institute of Economics and Social Research. I find this extremely interesting because I had the chance to talk to Professor Millard and hopefully can invite him on this channel soon for an interview regarding this study. And the abstract of this study is basically about the general equilibrium model, which energy and to use it to stimulate, different climate policies, which specifically there's like a carbon tax in the United Kingdom on petrol or gas usage, also on macroeconomic variables. And we show how the different policies leads to fall in both household consumption of energy and firms' use of energy in production, while also having the effect of shifting the production of electricity from fossil fuels to renewable resources. And the GDP across the gross output of non-energy fall in response to the various policies, and electricity production rises in response to the carbon tax. So as we look into the introduction of this research, there are a couple of things to keep note in, is that there this is basically for the developed country, and there need to be a model that developed for underdeveloped country because it's different scales. And climate change is basically the most important trend affecting our economy currently because there are a lot of physical risk like rising temperatures and more extreme weather events, floods, drought, and stuff like that. And there's also like transitional risks because we are transitioning towards more of you know green technology is quite costly, and we concentrate on transition risk and what policy to bring about transition might mean for the economy. And UK government issued the net zero strategy October 2021, which is quite similar to the carbon neutralization I discussed with Professor Jeffrey Sachs of the initiative of carbon neutralization 2050 for China. And there's the commitment to expand the current UK ETS. And by 2035, the UK will be powered entirely by clean electricity. And 2030 commitment to end the scale of new petrol and diesel cars, and 2035 commitment that all cars must be fully zero emission capable. And I know that Mercedes-Benz have this initiative that they want to go fully electric before 2030. And as we can see that almost all the car company is basically moving forward from the petrol area and petrol era. And so one of the ambitions that United Kingdom have is by 2035, new gas boilers will be sold. So as we can see here that the UK energy generation and uses is like this because there are a lot of electricity imports generation and stuff like that. And also, as we can see, this is the generation by source. The renewables, as we can see, is here, and the non-fossil is the red, which is significantly higher. So let's talk about a model for this because I think this is important to discuss the model. And so the open economy DGE model with energy calibrated to the UK and UK only. As for right now, I'll go into this later. And as we can see in the graph here, that this although this only applies to UK, United States is probably somewhat similar because it's all developed country, which analysis reflects UK's energy system, which reduce the role of coal in energy production. And you can incorporate UK climate policy as set out in HMG net zero strategy. And household consume petrol, gas, electricity, and like non-energy and stuff as well. And which all uses labor capital imported intermediates and stuff like that. And we can see in the graph here that the non-energy consumption and aggregate consumption goes up and the electric consumption goes down, petrol consumption goes down, it's because that there is a tax of the carbon tax and stuff like that that firms got to be aware of, which it kicks like start the transition by imposing the permanent carbon tax. And energy and non-energy are complements because you need non-energy to form energy, and you need energy to form non-energy. So there's the labor and stuff like that. Since the energy is taxed, so non-energy price is also going to increase. And firms employ less energy and less of other factors of production, and labor is way less productive. As we can see here, the electricity output is basically going up and the GDP is basically decreasing, as we can see here, which I found really interesting because I think everything comes at a cost, and some of the costs here is that the GDP is going to decrease and the non-energy output is going to decrease, although the electricity output is increasing. And this is the effect of carbon tax on output and GDP. And as we can see here, that this just goes back to zero, and the blue line goes back, the real interest rate goes back to zero as well. And you can see that it basically plateaus around this area. So what does it tell us? The conclusion is basically the carbon tax shifts production from fossil fuels towards renewables, and consumption shifts to non-energy and electricity. And which means in the short run, the move towards net zero leads to a fall in the GDP and a rise in inflation. And also monetary policies tighten, but rises more than are. So yeah, this is basically what the study tells us. So please check out this paper if you want to cite it and find this interesting. And this is by Sandra Batten again and Stephen Millard. And hopefully I can get Professor Millard to come to talk about the study soon, because when he showed me this research, I found it extremely intriguing. So I'll see you guys in the next episode.